All right, so a few of you might know that I've been following Scattered Spider for a few years now. The group came on my radar back in 2023 when their attacks on MGM Resorts and Caesars Entertainment caused hundreds of millions of dollars in damages and shut down the Las Vegas Strip. Well, anyways, apparently I wasn't following this story closely enough because this one slipped by me. But still, I think this one is important enough that you need to hear about it. So, Tyler Robert Buchanan, the 24-year-old British national, also known online as Tylerb, yes, he pleaded guilty to multiple charges. Prior to his arrest, Buchanan was well known online to be a senior member of Scattered Spider, and he just admitted to everything, including wire fraud and aggravated identity theft in a U.S. federal court. So, here's what the little punk actually did. So, back in the summer of 22, Buchanan and the rest of his Scattered Spider skid kiddies ran a wave of SMS phishing attacks, otherwise known in the industry as smishing, which is a term I absolutely hate. Anyways, Scattered Spider were specifically targeting specific employees at major tech companies. The messages that they were sending were really, really convincing. They impersonated IT departments, tricking employees into handing over credentials, bypassing MFA, and from there, they moved incredibly fast. At least a dozen large technology companies got hit due specifically Tyler Buchanan. The financial damages here were quite significant too. The group stole tens of millions of dollars worth of cryptocurrency, but this is the interesting part. They were primarily from individual investors through the SIM swapping. And Buchanan, again, was behind this entire coordinated and sustained operation. Now, what makes Scattered Spider worth paying attention to here is their TTPs, or tools, tactics, and procedures. You see, they don't rely on 0 days or complex malware chains. No, they rely on exploiting people via social engineering or SIM swapping. There's really no technical barrier to this. This is just psychological manipulation in its purest form, and trust me, folks, it works. Now, some other interesting tidbits to note about this story here, okay? Buchanan's handle, Tylerb, so smart. Tylerb reportedly appeared on multiple leaderboards in criminal communities, which tells you something about the culture here. Yeah, these aren't shadowy unknowns operating from bunkers. No, they're young punk-ass kids online and they're competing about it. Which honestly, if you think about it, this is really freaking stupid. It's like almost leaving a lovely trail of breadcrumbs straight up to the front door of your parents' house. Now, as with Tylerb, several other Scattered Spider members have been arrested and charged with several other cybercrimes. I should also mention that Tyler wasn't arrested at home either. No, Tyler was actually arrested in Spain back in 2024 and then extradited to the United States. Sentencing hasn't been scheduled yet, but a wire fraud conspiracy conviction alone carries up to 20 years. An aggravated identity theft adds a mandatory 2-year consecutive sentence on top of whatever else he gets. So, sounds like he might be locked up for a while. So, once I find out his sentence, I'll let you know. Moving on to our next story. Cisco's firewall products have a bit of a problem, and it's now on CISA's known exploited vulnerabilities catalog. Yes, I'm talking about CVE 2025-20362, a missing authorization vulnerability in the VPN web server component of Cisco's secure firewall ASA and firewall threat defense software. Yeah, missing authorization means the software isn't properly checking whether a user actually has permission to do what they're asking to do. So yes, for those keeping score, that's correct. There is a foundational security failure baked right into a product that's supposed to be protecting your network perimeter. And, well, here's what makes this worse, okay? This vulnerability can be chained with CVE 2025-20333, which is a totally separate buffer overflow flaw in the same ASA and FTD product line. So, chaining flaws like this is incredibly common amongst threat actors. Yeah, you use the missing authorization flaw to get access where you shouldn't have, and then you hit the buffer overflow to potentially execute code. It's a nasty 1-2 combination on a device that's, again, sitting on the edge of the network. CISA has issued Emergency Directive 25-03 around this, which means federal civilian agencies don't get a suggestion here. They have a hard deadline to review and implement the mitigation guidance. Well, and if you're not a federal agency, that doesn't mean you're off the hook, okay? Enterprise firewalls, VPN concentrators, perimeter devices sitting in front of critical infrastructure. We see this stuff everywhere, okay? Now, I should also mention something important here. The fact that this is actively being exploited in the wild is the reason why it landed in the known exploited vulnerabilities catalog in the first place. Let that sink in. That means, folks, patch or mitigate immediately or suffer the consequences. All right, last story of the day, folks. Gremlin Stealer is back and it's gotten a lot smarter. Yeah, so the badasses over at Unit 42 have published new analysis on evolved variants of this info stealer, and the evasion techniques that they found are really worth paying close attention to. On the capability side, Gremlin is doing three things that really hurt, okay? First, session hijacking. It's pulling authentication tokens and cookies to take over active sessions without needing your password or MFA at all. Second, crypto clipping. Okay, this is kind of new. It's monitoring your clipboard and swapping out any sort of cryptocurrency wallet address that you copy with one the attacker controls. You think you're sending funds to the right place, but surprise, yeah, you're not. Now, the third thing, standard credential theft from browsers, okay? This is covering saved passwords, autofill data, the usual damage, okay? Now, the biggest change here is how Gremlin hides its malicious code. So instead of embedding payloads in obvious locations, it's stashing them inside resource files, which are sections of a compiled binary that normally are used for things like icons and strings. Most security tools aren't even scrutinizing these sections as hard as the others, which is why this tactic works so particularly well. Yeah, the obfuscation doesn't stop there either. The malware also has become modular, which means attackers can swap out components in and out depending on what they want or what they need. Yeah, it's that sort of flexibility that makes the detection that much harder across the board because, well, there's no consistent signature to chase either. Yeah, modular architecture plus resource file hiding means defenders really need to go deeper into binary analysis and not just look for known bad strings or hashes. So, if you're running endpoint detection, make sure your tooling actually inspects resource sections of PE files. A lot of products skip that, folks, okay? So, I should also mention user awareness on clipboard-based attacks. It still matters because crypto clipping is silent, it's fast, and people really don't know about this tactic. Again, Gremlin, it's not new, but this version is meaningfully more capable, okay? Don't sleep on this. It's not old news. All right, folks, well, that wraps up today's stories. This is Andy Thompson signing off.